What's going on, guys? My name's Theoatrix, and today I'm bringing a maximum points guide for the Nightmare Zone minigame. For those that don't know what Nightmare Zone is, I'm gonna make a video guide explaining the basics pretty soon. I probably should have done it first, but the max point guide was highly requested. Essentially, you need certain quests to be able to kill the bosses that you killed in those quests inside a square room minigame. Now, the way you get points in the Nightmare Zone is about which bosses you kill. Every boss you kill, you get points, but the more bosses you have active in the room, so the more that you have selected before you go in, the more points that you get per kill. But some bosses are really shit to kill, and it's actually better just turning them off and getting a couple of less points rather than leaving them on and having to bear through them. Now, in my inventory and my gear setup, I always take absorption potions. If you don't have absorption potions yet, I highly recommend going into the Nightmare Zone and getting enough points first and getting absorption potions, because all the monsters that you fight to get the maximum points, they use different attack styles, so it's impossible to pray all three attack styles at once. No shit. I highly recommend using Darok while you're in there, and a Granite Mole is also very, very useful because the Power Surge power-up actually gives you a lot of special attack, and with the G-Maul, you make the most of it. If you can't wear Darok, just bring your best melee gear possible. A whip works fine. You can also take a ranged switch because some of the monsters are a bit weaker to range rather than melee, but I personally don't take one in because Darok simply just fucks things up anyway. The other potions that you need is prayer potions, and that is for piety, and that will give you a bit more points per hour because you'll be hitting a lot more and a lot more often. And also overloads are really, really needed because you hit a lot higher with them. And of course, the Dwarven Rock Cake must be in your inventory to get yourself down to 1 hit point. And basically what that does, if you have absorption potions on and you're down at 1 hit point at all times, the monsters can only hit ones on you, and that's all that can be taken away from your absorption. Now I'm going to talk about the bosses to turn off in order to get the maximum points per hour. First one on my list is Elvarg, and Elvarg is really annoying because it drains your stats if you don't have an anti-dragon shield, so it really is not worth taking just an anti-dragon shield for Elvarg. Now, this one's optional to turn off is the Witch's Experiment, and this one actually drains your stats a little bit, but if you have overloads on, the overloads usually just combat that and go over what it drained. But if you don't have overloads, definitely turn this off. The next is the Dagganoth Mother, and this one has to be turned off because it's very annoying to kill because it has different weaknesses and it's just really not worth having in there. The Tanglefoot can only be damaged by magic secateurs, so that is another really annoying one, and it's really not worth taking in secateurs as an invent slot, so just turn that off. This one is optional to turn off. The Desert Treasure bosses actually drain your stats. You need ice gloves, and honestly, they're not really just not worth the time. They just take a lot of time and effort to kill. They do give pretty decent points though, but still, I would turn them off because they are quite annoying. But if you want even more points per hour, maybe let's say 30k more per hour, definitely turn these on. Another optional one is the Recipe for Disaster bosses, and the reason why this one should be turned off is because the Gelatinoth Mother has the same attacks as the Dagganoth Mother, and it can only be killed with certain attack styles depending on what color it is. And the reason why I say this one's optional rather than has to be turned off is because you can actually kill the Mother with power-ups, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, and it kills all of them in the room. There's one that does that, so that can really clear off the Gelatinoth Mother. The final one is Chronozon, and you need blast spells to actually hit anything on him, so this one is very highly recommended to turn off. If you want to take in blast spells, go for it, but it'll take up a lot of inventory space. Next, I'm going to talk about the useful power-ups, and starting off, the yellow one that comes up, the little yellow orb, is the Power Surge power-up, and that gives you 20% special attack per game tick for like a solid minute, and that means if you have the Granite Maul, you can constantly special attack non-stop and get a lot of XP. The next one is red, and that's called Recurrent Damage, and basically what that does is it gives you an extra hit when you hit something. So if you hit like a 40, it's going to hit an extra 30 on top of that. Another one is Zapper, and that is purple, and that deals damage to all nearby monsters. And these three that I've just stated, you should be using while you're trying to get the maximum points, and that's because they do count to your points. even if you get kills with these 3. But the last one, Ultimate Force, which is white, does not give any points, but it is really recommended for killing the Gelatinoth Mother or the Dagonoth Mother if you decide to turn it on for some reason. Ultimate Force basically kills everything in the room. Now, when you go into the Nightmare Zone, you should go in using the Rumble Hard mode. And this is basically just an endless wave of monsters with random monsters at all times. And basically with this, you can stay in there for a very long time. The Dream Mentor bosses actually give the most points, and the Inadequacy, which is the big Dream Mentor boss, gives 74,000 points per kill if you have all of the bosses active. Most of the other bosses give around 10,000 per kill, which is still really good if you have all the bosses active. So yeah, definitely turn on as many as possible. Now doing this, you can get up to 1.4 million points per hour. That's what I was able to get. But lower levels would be getting more, around about 1 mil per hour, which is still really good. But if you haven't unlocked many quests, you're going to get significantly less points per hour. So definitely get a lot of quests done that have bosses in them. There's a list on the RuneScape wiki of which quests are actually used in the Nightmare Zone, so definitely check that out. And to finish this video off, I'm going to talk about how you can spend your points. Basically, with points, you can imbue certain items, and I went through that in a video. I'm going to put a card on the screen right now if you want to watch that. But anyway, rings. You can imbue rings, and it gives them double the stats that they normally have, which is really good. And then you can also imbue crystal items, and that stops them from decreasing in stats when they degrade. You can imbue the Salve Amulet and the Black Mask, and basically what this does is it increases its bonuses over to range and magic instead of just melee. Also with points, you can buy herb boxes, and with these, you can actually buy bonds every single 14 days if you buy herb boxes every day. I also made a video on that. There's going to be a card there. But one last thing, Iron Man cannot buy from the resources section of the Nightmare Zone. So if you're an Iron Man, don't be hauling a fuckload of points and then try to buy a heap of resources. You can't do that. The best you can really do is get Scrolls of Redirection, or you can go ahead and imbue your item. Anyways, guys, I hope you learned something today about the maximum points per hour at Nightmare Zone. It's now time for clip of the day. Lively Slayer over here was living up to his name, doing a bit of Slayer, and on his 3rd superior creature, he got a 3rd superior cave crawler, and he got the imbued heart. I'm pretty sure the drop rate from superior cave crawlers is intensely high, or low. Anyway, it's really, really rare, so congratulations, man. That's awesome. Gonna be sick for the bank account. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you did learn something, leave a like on the video. Also, subscribe if you're new. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day.